Recently, I went with one of my relatives to get something to eat from one of these sit-in restaurants. And whenever I go with someone and I'm treated to a meal, I try to, get things that are not anywhere like in the higher tier of the stuff that the place will sell. And over the last few weeks, I've mostly had enough food to where like I kind of map it out like, okay, I'm gonna eat this today. So when I get taken along, I normally don't even. It's always unprompted. I don't ask for it, but I also will say, "Hey, I'm not hungry," and I'll just get a drink or something. So in going to this one restaurant, they I bought a soda, and then towards the end, or around the same time from when I arrived there, I'm forgetting the order, but I know it's like both of them in one day, a soda and a shake. The soda was $4.99 and the shake was I can't remember the exact amount of change, but it was like 650, 652. So basically between these two drinks, it was $11. $11 for a soda and a shake. Um and I guess what I was kind of disturbed by is that when we go to these different places and talk about the price of things, like I've said before, I really don't understand why a lot of these sit-in restaurants like Norms and the rest of them will charge people what I feel are inordinate amounts of money for drinks that you can get somewhere else cheaper. But it's like I go to the market and they have these deals where you can buy a 12 pack of a specific type of soda, whether it's Coke, Sprite, Pepsi, whatever, um, for around $12. And then they have these deals where if you get three of them together or four of them together, it's sometimes it's three, sometimes it's four, but several of them, they'll knock each one down to about $7 or $8. So that means that you could, even if you're not going to take advantage of that deal, you can go to the market and buy a if you spend basically this little Pepsi that you get from this place, which by the way they're going to charge you for a refill on, is approaching is about half the price of what it would be to go and buy a 12 pack of that same drink right up the street. And man, like whenever you just think about how two drinks was basically rivaling the cost of a meal. Um, Sometimes they have burgers, sometimes they have chicken tenders and whatnot, different types of meals there. But the meal is usually around anywhere from 12, 13, 14, $15. Like most of their stuff is in that middle tens range. And then you get the add-ons of a drink, which make it go into the 20s and possibly even 30s. So this drink, these two little drinks by themselves were enough for this stuff to go to total up to almost the price of having ordered a meal. Like if I just ordered a meal with no drink, it would have been close to $11, if not a little bit more. And then, I relative I went with, I apologized to them. I said, hey, I wasn't trying to, mess you up or anything. And they didn't take it against me, but we have a pretty similar belief system in terms of just a lot of this stuff being overpriced. And I really sat there in shock, because like I've talked before about how even when you go to like somewhere like McDonald's and they're charging, I think it's about $3 or $4 for a large shake. At least that still is what $2, $3 off what it is at one of these sit-in restaurants. They're criminals just in terms of the pricing of this stuff. It's absurd because whatever ingredients they're putting in these shakes, I cannot understand where it would cost that much for a drink. Oh, and also just keep throwing this out there. It used to be when I would get a shake from somewhere like Denny's or I think Norm's did the same thing. I would be able they would give you the drink in just the little container that they have, the little glass, and then they would give you a metal container which would have the rest of the drink inside. Um, so you could basically give yourself a refill, like, hey, This is the full extent of how much we made of it, and once you finish drinking this much, you can pour this in. It'll basically be, two of the same drink. You get two for one, effectively. But you have the option to drink more if you don't want to. Just keep it in the cup, and that'll be that. Now they don't even do that anymore. My relative motioned for the waitress that was at the Denny's we were uh, eating at to give me a refill, and she was like, "Oh, I can." And I just remember like kind of rolling my eyes, thinking, here's a place where they're closing down. I think it was 170 stores, somewhere around that number of restaurants just across America, and they've cut down so much at that same particular Denny's to where they have this one waitress who has to serve the function of being a waitress to every damn body, every table, and also taking the persons that are coming in. Like, when you walk in a restaurant and they have the person who's sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, table for 2, 3, 4." So she's performing these like dual roles, and they've cut down on some of the stuff that they've like ordered copies of. But with all of these cutbacks, it's really, I guess what I'm kind of annoyed by is that, because I never ask for any favor type stuff from any of the places I go to, even where they try to like act smiley towards me. I just have a hard time believing that if she were to try and give a refill on a shake, that she would get in trouble. Because I've said this before, even when places have security cameras, right, like you're being watched or recorded all day long, a restaurant owner is not going to sit there and just review the footage from like 12 in the morning all the way up until 12 the next day. They're basically, they'd have to like be prodded by somebody else to like go and search through the exact minute where an exchange took place. So that's why I said it all goes back to like that corporate greed, to where even the people who basically stand nothing to lose are like going into that same terrain. But I've really been most disgusted by the cost of drinks, right? Like, I told the tale of how back when I was going to Wiener Schnitzel, they were charging $3 and $2.99, all the rest of that for a Coke or some fountain drink. I wouldn't even bother. I would always get my food, and that was it. I mentioned that I went to McDonald's and they turned the machine off when you tried to get a refill, or even just to like get a thing of soda from the machine. And all of it just goes back to this same idea that, like, by virtue of how antagonistic they are towards towards even the possibility of giving you something for free, even if it's not, because you already bought the drink once, it just makes me not even want to bother supporting their business or giving them any kind of validation in that way. It's kind of like when I go to the market and I was talking about how you go and buy $20, $30, $40, $50 worth of food, but then they want to charge you 10 cents for a bag, and then that whatever you spent on that bag, on that food rather, would make up for the cost of the bag. And how, when I first started going to the market regularly, I would sit there and go, "Oh, it's only 10 cents," but then you go there 5 times a month, and oh, look, a whole $50 just gone over some bags. So I got to a point where I said, I'm just gonna have extra bags in the car. I'm not gonna keep giving them money for something that I don't think I should get charged for. I don't know. It just seems like everywhere you go, there's these like small courtesies and different, I don't want to say favors, but just things that either shouldn't cost anything or should cost a hell of a lot less, are just being increased in their price where you don't even want to bother with it anymore. Like, I didn't think I'd see the day where 2 non-alcoholic beverages would be over $10. But then again, I guess I should have expected that from, what was the other place, that Chick-fil-A, where they have the $7 shake. So if 2 people buy that, it's $14, and it's like you might as well just go and get an actual meal at that point. I don't know. It's just all the pricing of stuff is so outrageous. And people will tell you, "Oh, if you don't like it, then don't buy." It's like, yeah, but that's, it's like, do I really have to go on a boycott against getting a drink from a restaurant? And realistically, if I go to a sit-in restaurant, I'm fully prepared to spend, $20, $30 just to eat that day or for that particular meal. I can't like just bring what do you call it, a metal container of Coke with me because I want to pay them the extra $2 or $3 they charge for one. So it's one of those things where even in being willing to deal with them sometimes or a little bit where you curb back how often you go there, it's still the fact that like no matter how much you curb it back, you're gonna say, is it really worth $11 for a shake and a soda? And the answer will always be no.